Hello and good morning. Tuesday morning, 10:45. Happy day, happy Tuesday, everyone. And I'm slightly nervous making this video. And at the same time, it's been brewing for me for a couple of days. So here we go. And this is something that I'm becoming more and more sensitive to. Hello for those of you that are joining right now. So yeah, this is something that I've been very sensitive about, abusive relationships. I know it's a pretty loaded, big topic. And what I want to talk about here is a little bit about my experience and the revelations and realizations I'm having right now. And also the subtleties of abuse. So when we think about abusive relationships or being abused, we immediately go to, or most likely, right? Most people would think, oh, if I'm not being hurt by this person physically, if this person is not beating me up or verbally abusing me or all the extreme ways of abuse, then there's no abuse in the relationship, right? And so, and that's for me, and what I'm learning more and more now and discovering about the subtleties of abuse, and reflecting on my most recent relationship. Abuse, just like anything else in life, has many different layers and shadows and flavors. So there's a spectrum, right? So we have the extreme, which is getting beat up or being verbally abused, and all the ways that go to that extreme. But then there's different flavors and different ways that abuse can actually show up in a relationship. And so what's really important for me in this video today, in this message, is to maybe spark a new perspective for you, or if you are in a relationship where something just doesn't feel quite right, to respect yourself and honor yourself and value yourself enough to not stay in that relationship, okay? And so I'm just going to share a little bit about my experience and what I'm reflecting on right now. And the thing is, while we are in a relationship, sometimes it's very hard to have that bird's eye view, also because there's so many attachments and we genuinely love the person that we are with. And sometimes this person can be very sweet on some levels and very nice and a great person. But again, there's this underlying tone and underlying feeling that something is not quite right. So, and again, what's interesting about this whole thing, I've always considered myself to be a very strong person and a wise person and a woman that wouldn't really accept any form of disrespect, any form of not being valued, any form of subtle abuse. I always thought that about myself. And probably those of you that are watching right now and watching later might consider yourself being a woman or a man that, hey, no, fuck it. I would never accept any abuse from my partner. If that shows up in my relationship, I'm out of there. I'm out of here, right? Well, that's not always the case. That's really not always the case, because again, there is love and there is attachment to the person or to the relationship, and then we start not putting attention to some things that are not right, okay? So basically, how do I define abuse in a relationship? If you find yourself in a relationship where no matter how subtle it is, you guys, and I want to be very clear, no matter how subtle it is, you deserve the best. You deserve to be respected. You deserve to be valued. You deserve to be appreciated. You deserve to be adored by your partner. It's just, that's what you deserve. And if any of the above is not present in your relationship, there's a subtle form of abuse. And again, there can be the extreme and it can be subtle. So if you're finding yourself not being honored, if you're finding yourself not being respected, if you're finding yourself not being valued by your partner, there's a subtle abuse going on there where you're finding yourself in doubt, just doubting yourself, doubting your own feelings, being projected upon, being manipulated, even again in the most subtle ways. That is a form of abuse. Now, there's a lot of information out there as I'm going down the rabbit hole right now and learning about narcissists. And we hear a lot of information about narcissists and narcissism in the spiritual community, being in a relationship with a narcissist. And I'm not going to go there right now because that's a huge, huge loaded topic. And there's a lot to say about that. Again, there's different forms and different shades to a narcissist and being in a relationship with a narcissist. And it can be a very subtle and can be very passive and it can be very masked, where at first you wouldn't even think that this person is a narcissist. And then you realize in all the subtle ways that you are being manipulated, that you are being impregnated with self-doubt, all the ways that you are being devalued, that your feelings are not respected, that your feelings are not valued, that who you are is in a way always being put down, even in the most subtle ways. So to start recognizing that, you really need to become very acute and very aware of the tactics or the ways of which a person can devalue you and disrespect you. The passive ways that you can be subjected to abuse. And I want to be also clear that it's never about the other person. Like, do not blame anybody else. Do not point your finger at another person. But it's an opportunity for you to really claim your power back. So as what I'm learning right now, and I'm reflecting back on my relationship, my most recent relationship, and it's such an eye-opening experience where my jaw is quite dropped pretty often when I reflect on certain occurrences throughout the relationship and the way I was feeling with this person. And how I knew I had so many red flags, we could call it, or intuitively I knew something wasn't right. I'm not being treated in the way that I deserve. However, I didn't listen and I did stick around and I was manipulated in a very sophisticated and clever way to stick around. Not blaming the other person for doing that. I'm looking at myself during the relationship, throughout the relationship, and the choices that I made, and that I chose to stay. And I'm not blaming myself either. So I'm just now reflecting back and really forgiving myself for not listening to my wisdom, to not listening to my intuition, and allowing myself to be subjected to a subtle way of abuse. And that's the reason why I am posting this, because I'm sure I'm not alone, and I'm sure people that are watching this, some of you may be in a relationship where there is a subtle way of abuse, and you will never call it an abuse. You will never say, oh yeah, I'm being abused by my partner, because we don't classify it as abuse. But that's exactly what I would like to convey here today, is the subtleties of abuse, and that you don't deserve any of that. You don't deserve any of that. And I want that to really be anchored in yourself and in your being. And look at all of your relationships, by the way. It can be friendships and it can be your significant other. But any form of that subtle abuse that might show up where you are not valued, your feelings are not valued, your input is not valued, you're not being honored. I'm going to repeat it again so it's clear. You're not being respected. There's a form of manipulation. There's a passive aggressive tone. You are not being heard. If there's any level of you not feeling safe to express yourself, you are afraid to express yourself, you feel like you kind of walking on eggshells so the other person doesn't blow up, that's abuse, my friends, because you are in a relationship where you are not feeling safe. You do not feel like you can fully be yourself. You don't feel like you can express yourself. Tell me if you don't deserve more than that. You do, okay? You do deserve more than that. So please, if you have any relationship in your life, and it can even be a parent, okay? And that's a different situation because, hey, a parent, or if it's your child, and that's not a relationship that, okay, your family is your family, right? But learning how to set boundaries, learning when, for yourself, when you're not being valued, when you're not being respected, and to know that, and not to keep bending yourself for that person, to not adhering to that kind of passive aggressiveness in your relationship, and to stand your ground and to find your strength and your center. But especially if it is a relationship, exit safely. Yes, yeah, for sure. There's ways to do it. What I'm saying in this video is that if you are finding yourself with somebody of that nature, or you finding yourself in a relationship where all of the above of what I described is something that you can resonate with, then please, please know that you deserve more, and start, at least if it's hard to make the decision, to make the choice and to say, hey, I need to end this relationship, at least hopefully this video can plant a seed for you where you can start thinking in that direction, when you can start recognizing that actually I'm in a form of an abuse here, an abusive relationship. And if you can learn more about narcissists and having a relationship with a narcissist, and the different shades that can show up in a relationship, and the way of a passive insults or degrading or devaluing, okay? But we know the difference. Like, you know, the people in your life where you just feel accepted, where you feel good about yourself, where you feel that you can fully express yourself, you feel safe, you feel heard, you feel embraced, all of you. And every single relationship in your life, especially if it's your significant other, especially if it's a romantic, intimate partnership, do not accept anything less than that, my friend. Please. Okay, so if you are in that situation right now, it's a good time to initiate some sort of a change. And somebody commented here to exit safely. Absolutely, and gracefully also. But at least know for yourself, am I in an abusive relationship that I wouldn't classify as abusive, because the person is not hitting me, the person is not calling me names or whatever. But know that you deserve just the most amount of adoration, appreciation, gratitude, love, respect in all of your relationships. Okay? So yeah, that's something I really wanted to talk about here today. And I want to invite you, because I know that can be a pretty scary, first of all, a scary realization. Okay, I'm now sitting in the aftermath of things, reflecting back and like, holy shit, what I subjected myself to. But if you are in it right now, And yes, it's hard to see it, especially if the person that you are with is there's so many beautiful qualities to that person as well. And there's so many beautiful qualities to the relationship. But there's a but. There's a but. And I'm not talking about, okay, yeah, there's some compromises that we do in a relationship. You don't compromise your self-worth and your value. You do not compromise that, no matter what. No matter what, you don't compromise your own self-value and worth with anybody. Okay, so if you're in it right now and you resonate with what I'm speaking about here, and you need some help and you need some guidance, then please shoot me a message, okay? And I would love to talk to you a little bit more, because it does come down to how much you value yourself, how much you love yourself, how much you see your self-worth, okay? And that's one of the biggest realizations that I'm having right now. And hey, I wrote a book about it, you know, about valuing yourself and seeing your self-worth and not compromising that. However, I still found myself in a situation where I did compromise my self-worth and I did compromise my self-value. So, right, it's a learning process, and we are still learning. So even though I wrote a book about it, and even though that's the work that I do, when we in it, okay? So if you feel that you need some help and that you need some guidance, send me a message, okay? And I would love to talk to you. And if it's something that you feel, hey, got it, thanks for this message, and start noticing. Just start noticing the kind of subtle energies in your relationship and relationships, and where this subtle abuse may be present, and do something about it, okay? Set up your boundaries, do whatever you need to do. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that this was of value to you and helped you. Again, I would love to hear from you if you need some help in this arena, and I'm sending you so much love. You are so awesome and so amazing, and you deserve nothing less but the very best. I'll see you next time. Have a beautiful rest of your day, evening, afternoon, night, wherever you are. Ciao, ciao.